Wow.
Recording in progress.
Wow.
You can share that.
Yeah,
link with
yeah,
us
I can.
and with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to teach me how to do that, but that's okay. Okay, we have to take attendance. I'm here. Hear it.
Erin Levy's here. Amy down here.
Amy's here.
Wendy back here.
Wendy is,
And Rich Rita ex officio.
Wendy's here and Rich is,
And Mark the Village.
he doesn't,
I'm in the audience.
he's what we call, whatever.
Staff.
He is here, he is staff,
Staff is supposed to be just in the background,
right.
not to be
But
seen.
unless we have questions, unless we have questions for them, unless we have
Unless asked.
questions for them.
Right.
Okay, I will make sure, or we will make sure that the minutes are sent out. So we've done attendance, we've done, there's no one here for privilege of the floor unless it's you, Mark. Okay. I sent out the mission statement. I made some changes to it. Minor changes to it. All messed up here because I've lost control of my papers. Really deadly. when you lose control here. If, what? Oh, you know. what I mean. You know what I mean. It's so much easier if I could bring everything up. If anyone has any comments, I have a yellow marker and a pencil.
I had a couple.
Okay.
It's
Go ahead.
it's still a bit clunky.
Well, my English tends to be.
No, it wasn't you. I mean, I originated the several iterations.
Yep.
of it, so it was clunky then. I think it's still a little clunky. I think we can say the Board of Selectmen established the Municipal Solid Waste Committee to advise the board on operational methods, costs, public access and
On,
disposal. And in other words,
I understand.
get rid of from the various.
Yep, including,
And all the way to include.
it should it say include or including?
No, just to advise the board on, after on, you have the various.
Yep.
So delete
I did.
after on, and then delete all the way to include. So. it
Oh, I
would
see.
read,
Yep,
to advise the board on operational
That's fine.
methods, cost, public access, and disposal.
okay,
Oh,
including
so-
substantial,
You can put them up for me. I went back and forth on that because it's kind of understood,
Which
but you
one?
can, at the end of the sentence, put on municipal solid waste. You
some people wanted to include that last time, so I added it to
Right.
what was initially there, so I that is one of the things that I put in, because some people said that would be a good thing to add to this, so I did.
So I would put it on municipal solid waste after disposal. And so that's just one sentence. The Board of Selectmen established the Municipal Solid Waste Committee to advise the board on operational methods, cost, public access, sustainable recycling, and disposal.
You want to say disposal?
And disposal.
I put it the other way around, but do you care?
No, I don't care.
I don't need to. I had the sustainable recycling and disposal, so I didn't have to change the position of the hand.
Yeah. For municipal solid waste. Is that
I have no problem with that.
for municipal solid waste?
Can we also make the acronym MSWC?
Yeah, that's a good.
in parentheses?
So that was, yeah.
Okay. Okay,
And then you can just put, the board expects the committee to respond to its task and get rid of us on specific issues, as well as provide recommendations to increase the efficiency of the town's solid waste disposal, operate in an environment friendly manner.
to maintain the beauty and aesthetic
Yeah, it's
appeal.
getting, now you.
I-
after
but you
Mandy,
see,
you get
I-
kind of a run-on
People said they
sentence there.
wanted that.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you ended it at of solid waste, period, that is the mission statement.
Of-
You could use the rest of that as your goals and objectives, which lead to
Vision.
advising. the
Okay.
board.
Where do you want to stop, Mark?
Well, at that first, just.
Oh, I
one
see.
sentence, Just have one.
For municipal,
sentence.
so the rest, so in other words,
The rest-
everything after that is going to wind up in
You
some
call
type of
it
vision
vision.
statement?
You can call it vision instead of
Perfect.
mission statement.
Okay,
So the first sentence is the mission
no,
statement.
that's fine.
Right.
And then everything else you label
As vision.
vision, a
Okay.
separate
Vision or the
category,
goals.
I like that.
goals and objectives.
Anybody?
Because those are
Yeah.
the things you're going to do.
Okay,
In order to advise the board.
that's fine. I will do that.
So vision, then the first thing becomes the board expects the committee, this is under vision, to respond to its tasking as well as provide recommendations to increase efficiency of town solid waste in an environmentally friendly manner. After that, then you're gonna start getting into a run-on sentence.
How
and
about
break that
if you
up.
put a period there
Yeah.
and say to maintain the beauty and aesthetic appeal of Water Valley?
Or you
as
can
we-
say, the goal is to maintain. Make a whole new set after period, after manner. The goal is to maintain the beauty and aesthetic appeal of Water Valley as
Okay.
reasonably possible
got it.
for a small resort. Something
I got it. No, I got it.
Not to get too hung up.
No, I got it. It's on my PC at home.
Well,
Because I
just everyone
have
here.
so many different screens going at once on different things.
So if everybody. you should
Okay.
probably-
I will do that and send it out. Well, should I send it out and we can vote on it next time? Since I'm gonna have a final draft. Does anybody have a problem with that? Okay. And I'll get that out hopefully next weekend. Before I get hung up on next Thursday.
I get the minutes done by next week, if you want to send them out together. just
Please.
to reduce
Yes,
the
please.
loss.
Please. Please. Okay,
Done.
perfect.
Better than the planning board. We're still trying to come up with permission stuff. We've been talking about it for over a year.
Subcommittee reports. Hear it.
What do I have as an update? Okay. As far as I know, the existing programs are successful. And thank you to everyone. who's-
Well, I'll talk about that in detail.
Yes.
All right.
We need the details. I received an inquiry from Sharon today that Jen Peatman, one of our residents, wants to start this program, the Trex program at Holderness School. So I like hearing that.
3 towns have already approached me
Good. Well, we need.
well, 3 other towns, doesn't matter who they are, but 3 other towns, Annie has permission to have them call me. 3 other towns are talking about all 3 programs. I've cleared that with those entities that have to be cleared with Holderness, Subaru of New England, and Market Basket, that they didn't have a problem with us giving out that information.
So the interesting thing is that this Trex program has been in existence for years, but Hannaford didn't promote it.
Yeah,
Market
I never heard
Basket
of it.
Didn't promote it.
I think anyone's heard of it.
So I don't remember how we initially found it, but I'm glad we did.
Well, I know how it happened, but it really doesn't matter. The programs, just to put it in perspective, probably by the end, Mark, maybe you can answer this. Probably by the end of the week, those 3 programs will have gotten somewhere 1,000 gallons of stuff, because there's 3 different things, 2,000 gallons of stuff that will not go in the landfill.
That's just awesome, just helping the state and the country keep that crap.
How, do you know how many gallons goes in a truck? I suppose that's just Jim, not you.
You'd have to learn gallons to tons.
What is
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
a.
it's not,
It's a volume.
well, volume is gallons, tons is
Well,
weight.
Cubic yard.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Huh? It doesn't matter. At any rate, 2,000 gallons sounds like a lot to me. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think we started talking about it in the recycling committee, and then Anna's Feelings chose to take it up as a challenge for the school challenge. So I think that was months and months ago. It doesn't matter.
it started in February.
Okay. It doesn't matter, but we got it started. So I'm glad that there's more interest in the community. But I also feel that more details are needed because I'm still getting emails from Brenda Conklin. Can you tell me if Bounty film is going into this one or that one? People still don't know, and it's not that clear. So we understand candy wrappers go into the Subaru thing, the TerraCycling. There are lots of different films, plastic films, that I'm assuming goes into.
Pretty much
but-
anything, the answer is very simple. But in discussion with
Mhm.
with Trex, who I had
Mhm.
long discussions with. Basically, if you're talking about any type of clear film or thin film, Trex will take it. So when you talk about, for example, the Bounty wrappers,
Yeah, Bounty
anything
for
like
sure.
that, anything like that, that is,
Cereal inserts is more like
anything-
wax paper, but it's also included in that.
yes. So basically, on all of the barrels and on top of the barrels and in front of the barrels,
Yeah, I know, we
It's
had
there.
that printed up by Sharon months ago, so I
And-
know that, but it's not enough. There are all kinds of, what about this, what about that? So we need.
these
more.
are this is the guidance that we are providing. All right? If they have specific questions, tell them to call me.
Is it something that can be not advertised, but yeah, not advertised in the wigwag? They can.
It is.
We did, we.
I mean,
the
again-
The Trex official
Right. But what's,
has about maybe 12 photos of things.
right,
It's not, for example, the wet wipes, that, you know, it's not a film really, but it's.
Right, it's like a pack.
It's a
like
pack,
Asian
pack of
wipes.
wet ones, wet wipes, diaper wipes.
But see, what people are trying to do is, and I've had this discussion.
Yeah.
People want to say, well, what about this minor item and that minor? You can't do that because there's thousands of minor items. So basically, the answer is very simple. If you're talking about basically clear, single layer plastic, it's acceptable to Trex.
Okay. And the
Is-
rest would be Subaru.
Pretty much all of the rest is Subaru, including K-cups and all kind, candy
Yes, I saw that.
wrappers and all kinds of other great stuff that they'll accept.
Just link those images to like the town website, so if people get questions, just say. go to-
Well, this is the issue, and I haven't spoken to Mark about this. He just gave me a very hairy eyeball.
No, not at all.
This is not a town group or committee. It is a separate group of people that are doing this.
Well, that doesn't mean we can't,
Now,
we
it,
can't promote. I mean,
okay, so if you don't have a problem, I don't have a problem.
you can have another group on it, just like we have all sorts of groups on the town website with links.
So,
That's, I don't have a
yeah,
problem with that.
so just send us a link and
I
we'll
will-
figure out a way to put it.
I will send you the links for those. Aluminum cans are pretty straightforward.
Right, that's easy.
and-
Well, as long as people know it's not.
Aluminum
something-
cans? Hannaford,
Yeah.
Hannaford. If you go to Hannaford, I don't know where you shop, but if you go into Hannaford, Hannaford now has these little cubbies that you can put things in. I called Hannaford and said, hey, guys, what if I want to bring a 39-gallon trash barrel of aluminum cans? And they said, don't leave it there. Call us ahead of time. We will meet you behind at the loading dock and you can just hand it to us. I said, great.
That is
I think.
I mean,
the way to
these
handle it-
organizations have been spectacular
The
in
way to
dealing with
handle
this.
it, I think, for regular people is it's just a link from perhaps seems the best place, the town website to the actual sites of these, where we don't have to list everything. That site, the Trek site, what's the other site, the
TerraCycle.
TerraCycle site, and then people can read there and.
I
you can
will, I
you can
will
couple
forward,
that
I
with
will
a
forward
little-
those to you, Mark.
Notice
Yeah.
in the wigwag and the recycle column, this is how to figure out,
Yeah.
you know, you can even just give them the direct links to these sites.
Yeah, then we're covered if they
Right.
change anything and.
Right.
Well, they've been pretty,
You
they've been
know,
pretty
go to the
steady.
town site, or here are the direct links to the Trek site, Terra site.
But I guess we have to do it again.
Yeah, no, you probably have to do it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I would say every few months,
That's
maybe
fine.
once a quarter.
Facebook too.
Yeah.
Go to Facebook.
Oh, yeah, Facebook.
Use the town's
We will-
Facebook page.
we'll-
That's
we'll
true.
bring that
Or the
to-
community.
I will send that to you and I will send it over to Eric.
I just think that whatever link you send us has to be that page
No, I understand. I
in TerraCycle
No, no,
where it lists out everything.
I understand it. Yeah, I understand. Okay,
So I think that's it for recycle. for now.
okay. So at any rate, all three are working well,
Awesome.
all right?
So I have another little question. So I first spoke with Hannaford before I did Market Basket, and they were very thrilled, we had that conversation months ago. They're very thrilled to be doing the Trex Challenge. Okay,
Okay,
however, and they said, yes, bring your poster. And that's another one of the posters that Sharon laminated, and I gave them a poster. It disappeared. It's not there. Market Basket still puts it on their blue bin.
Market Basket.
So I don't know.
I find
why.
Market Basket to be much,
I don't know why.
wait a minute,
That's
My-
organization.
I tend to, I've got a really good relationship with people at Market Basket. I'm developing one at Hannaford as well. When I next talk to the Hannaford store manager, probably Thursday or Friday, I'll ask them.
Yeah.
But I mean, I tend to go to Market Basket, and what's amazing is I bring this 39-gallon bulging bag of Trek stuff. And they said, and I said, first time I went there, I said, where do you want to put it? They said, you see the thing that we have over there that nobody ever puts anything in? Put it in front of that. All right, so I put it in front of it. By the time I finish shopping, go out, it's gone.
Yes,
Like a magic.
they're good.
Huh?
No.
Hey,
They're good, yeah.
they're good. They're very good about that. And I was shocked how well Hannaford immediately said,
Yeah.
just give me a call, and if I'm not here, talk to this person or whatever, and they take care of it
Right.
for the cans. We don't get anything for it, but that's okay. We get things for other things.
Okay.
All right. Cost, I don't know. Not much we can do with cost yet.
Well, I think the goal there was to sit down and determine whether we want to look at another increase next year and to advise the select board on that.
What is interesting, and I talk to a lot of people, as I'm sure we all do. I'm surprised, unless they're coming and looking for your scalp. I haven't heard a whole lot of people complain about the increase.
No.
All right,
I'm sure there have been
$10 a
some,
month for
Yeah.
curbside pickup.
yeah.
Nobody has the guts. I would shoot them.
you gotta be careful, it's recording.
I'm joking, but
I understand.
$10.
No, I
Long overdue.
Well, what-
understand.
But maybe what we could do, Mark, not to put more work on you, but just where do we stand on
The revenue.
the revenue,
the
right?
Revenue
And-
collections.
right.
Are right on track.
Right,
What we projected
with the
when,
increase,
when we did the.
right? And so the
So-
question is, do we want to do another similar increase next
Well,
year?
we had talked
about
about
it.
5% increases
Right,
Right.
each of the next 3 years.
right,
That's what was
That
on the list.
That's what's
Yeah.
on the sheet.
right.
So I was gonna put that in the budget because unless the selectmen tell me not to, so that's my plan right now is to have a 5% increase.
I have no problem. Does anybody have a problem with that?
Is 5% enough?
Well, and that's totally up to.
Well, but it's 5%, 5% for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's 15%.
But I guess that's really cost. So we need to figure out.
Well, we've got to look at the disposal costs because the tipping fees did go up
Right.
and we just don't know where we are going to be.
That was the other half of the equation. When, Mark, should the select board make that determination?
I have a question before that.
Well, that'll govern when we want to perhaps discuss here
Do
if
we,
5% is enough.
do we have any idea? Maybe I have to address this to a select board person, or Jim, or you. the country and the state, and I assume the town, are having significant inflation. That's not exactly a secret, all right? Is that gonna affect, it's not,
Other than operating costs, like the, you know,
fuel?
the fuel costs, we've got to track right now, the departmental expenditure for disposal is not over. We're tracking
Right.
along that. The tipping fees did go up more than we had anticipated, but again, it's gonna depend on the number of tons that we actually throw away
Right.
compared to other years. So I think that, to get back to Rich's question, January is the time when we lock that in for the February budget.
Right.
So we really don't, we can continue to track it, we can talk about it monthly, but we don't need to lock in a recommendation until.
Right, that's what I was getting
Is,
at.
is
So, the
that,
fall.
is that truck gas or diesel? Do you know? It's diesel? Diesel costs haven't gone up as much as gas. Okay.
So we can just, yeah, we can wait
We-
to the fall
We'll,
to put it
we'll
all
track
together.
it until October, November.
When
And
you
then
say
make a
tipping fees
decision.
went up, do you have the number?
I don't remember the percentage. It was locked in for the year, so it isn't like we see an increase on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
Or anything. But when they gave us the new rates, they were higher than what we had projected in January. So, and it's like maybe 5 or 10% higher. They weren't astronomical, so they didn't double their costs.
Okay. Transfer station access, I really guess we don't really have anything to talk about on that. It is, we have 24/7, 365 access, and
Well, there's two different things. So when you say transfer station to Jim or any of the guys that work.
that's
in
different
public
from the
works,
dumpster access.
That's up there.
Right, that
The
right.
dumpster access.
dumpster,
is
so we shouldn't use
24/7.
transfer station.
Jim and I call the dumpsters a transfer station as well, but when you say transfer station.
It is, that's true.
That means up there.
We should call this dumpster access, not transfer
Yes.
station. Okay, so amended.
Yeah,
Um,
because
No, that's fine. I mean, and I guess it is 24/7, 365.
Yeah, the point there was to get together and have discussions, throw some ideas out as to what we may want to change prior to the new, any new facility we might, or any new method or mode of operation we may undertake after the water treatment plant facility is situated.
There's another question that we kind of kicked around. Not that I'm suggesting there is an answer, but that you have cameras there. All right, but realistically, if somebody's a visitor or anything else,
yeah, there's
there's
the only
nothing to do about
time
it.
we use the cameras or the images captured by the cameras. The cameras are on all the time.
Right.
But the only time that we look at what's being recorded is if a red shed and nobody paid for it. And then we will watch the video and try to
Okay.
determine who did that and when they did it. So
Okay.
on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't make any sense to look at that video because we have residents guests, transient guests,
No, no,
and we have all 50 state license plates. So
sure,
that has nothing to do with
No,
who's
I-
done it.
I agree.
Right, I mean, so it's, again, do we want to sit down and have a subcommittee meeting, just throw some ideas out? Are there ways we can deal with access now?
I can't,
changes.
I mean, if you could think of any, I
Well,
mean,
that's the purpose of the
I don't,
subcommittee meeting. was to sit down
I,
and talk
my
about
gut
it.
tells me that there is no way to do it. Since you can't do it by a license
Well-
plate, you could give people a placard that if
You
it's,
can't because
but-
you have out of town.
you have out of town people to do it coming in.
Mhm.
I don't, I mean, I gave it some thought. I've talked to
Well, I
people,
mean,
but
Rick, we've had conversations
Mhm.
about how to put fencing around it and
Mhm.
have locked gates and
Mhm.
have hours of operation, but if that's the way you want to go, we need more, we need to know that before January. We
Mhm.
need to know in October if that's something you want us to look into, because Jim and I are gonna have to sit down and
Figure out
we're
the
gonna
cost.
have to figure out the costs of putting that up. We're gonna have to look at staffing. We need guidance on how many hours a day, how many days a week you want that open, how it's gonna work for transient guests and for others who are using that in the off hours when we don't have people here. You know, there's a real lot of planning that would have to go in, and we would just, and I'm not asking you guys to do that planning, I'm asking you to give us the criteria that everyone agrees that this is the way you want it set up. Okay, and then let us do, here's how much it's gonna cost, because we're gonna need 4 people working these hours, you know, et cetera. You guys have to give us you guys have to recommend to the selectmen, here's the way we think it should be structured. The selectmen have to say yes or no, and then have to look at Jim and I, and they have, tell us how much this is gonna cost if we do it this way. Because right now, that doesn't cost us hardly anything to run.
Except for the potential
Except
excess trash.
For the excess trash, which who knows what percentage that is,
Right.
but our numbers, if you look at the numbers that I just handed out
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
you,
that's pretty good.
we're right on track
it's
to
not, it's,
collect
Mhm.
the same amount as we
More-
always have.
yeah,
right
more or
around
less.
the 800.
it's not a big difference,
It's not a
differential.
big difference. So we haven't seen a huge influx of material, but I can't tell you whether that's 10% or 15% from somewhere else.
Right.
That's all,
And
or
then,
2%.
that's just been steadily there all the
Yeah.
time.
It's always been. And that's because we've always had
Exactly.
24/7 access to our dumpsters,
Well,
so.
I mean, it seems like it's worth that committee meeting and just, it's a committee meeting. And do this a little bit.
Right, I mean, the recommendation to the select board could be, let's continue the way we're going for the time being. So it's just a subcommittee meeting,
Yeah.
whoever's on the subcommittee.
Okay,
getting together to
So who
discuss.
wants, I'll do
Well, who do
it.
we have on the subcommittee? Be careful. only 3
No,
of
wait a minute.
us.
Don't we have it set up already?
Yeah,
We do. I just have to look at who that is. I passed around the list last time. Who's on
just
it?
the 2 of us.
That's fine. I'll have them over. I'll have them over my house.
Yeah, but we can, if anyone else wants to.
Right. We'll do that with Mark and Jim.
Talk about costs, yeah.
Okay. Do we have anything else to say about the out of the box group? Okay,
Nothing new with composting yet.
I've not looked beyond town square in the past month.
Who was on the cost?
Subcommittee.
Us.
The same two.
Oh, we're both on cost and transfer station access. We got nobody else,
just you and me, kid.
just you and me?
That's okay.
I'd be happy to, I just don't know. I'd have to offer.
Well, no, but anybody just sitting around
Wait a minute,
talking
we're
and
just
thinking.
sitting around, you know, I don't want to,
I mean, there are technologies out there that deal with access that we may want to consider as well. Beyond a placard or what have you,
yeah,
or recording access. You know, rather than the camera.
Do most towns keep gates and?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
We're one of
Oh, yeah.
we're probably the only trash facility, solid waste facility in the state that is not gated in the summer.
But part of the reason for that is to have open dumpsters all around town.
Right,
Right.
because, yeah, and
Anyone who
anything
pushes
that you
it
do
beyond.
cannot justify it's got to apply everywhere. Because if you shut these off, if you put a gate up here, all they're gonna do is eventually
Go to Windsor
find
Hill.
their
Windsor
way
Hill.
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
and They'll just dump it.
I try to walk across the street to you. But yeah, I mean, that is exactly the issue. You know, I sat down and spoken to various people, and there's nothing simple.
Yeah, that leads to doing that
But again,
to the
if-
condo,
if we
that's a whole other
If
thing.
we saw wild fluctuations in the amount of trash that we're generating, you know, if during the COVID outbreak, we had seen a 30% spike in solid waste, then I'd say there's
We
a
didn't.
problem. But
We didn't.
we're like this, there's no storm on our sea. You know, and we're just going along, and we're gonna generate another 800 tons.
Which is surprising.
Well, but remember, we still have not, it is busy in town right now, but it's still not commercially as busy as it's been. So there is still a.
Wouldn't know that
missing
from last weekend,
segment. Well.
but yes,
But you have, like, Gordon, it's not just the weekends, it's the weekdays.
Right.
Gordon Research and those kind of groups that filled us up completely all summer long. They're not here.
during the week.
Right.
Okay,
So
that's
the
true.
weekends are very busy, and I think our rise in residential population has offset that commercial piece that we're still missing.
Okay. Disposal is probably
Well,
same
we just
issue.
need to get a little bit closer to the end date and then drop
This-
in on waste management. I'm basically waiting for, or on Casella, I'm basically waiting for direction to say, let them know that we're gonna start looking around.
Which we will talk about this fall. Yeah.
Guys tell me, and
Okay, so I
I'll
have,
get the town attorney,
Yeah.
and we will figure out a way to tell Casella we're looking around.
so with all the commotion and the controversy with the Casella landfill up in Bethlehem, don't you think we can legally start looking before, no?
No,
Well, there's still-
I took that to an attorney friend of mine. The answer to that is absolutely not, based on the contract.
Did you want to say something? That's the- Too silly to talk to Good Waste.
I just need direction to talk to the town attorney.
I think the sooner we do it, the better.
Yes.
No matter.
Well,
This
the big,
committee wants
the-
to
Yes.
have-
the first question that I would ask before we talk to anyone is if we're gonna buy our way out of this.
I don't think we were talking about abrogating.
No, we're not
No,
talking.
no, we're talking
not
new
one out of the
Right.
contract yet.
So
We're talking about a new
basically,
contract.
we're talking about what would happen after May 2023.
We have an opinion from town council that fell in line with, in that we cannot talk to anyone until it gets closer to the end of the
Right.
contract period.
Right.
If we want to get aggressive with that, and we, because of whatever reason, and we want to start doing that now, then the town attorney and I need to figure out how to do that. But I need direction
Right.
from the board as the policy makers. That they want me to start looking into that. We're willing to fight whatever legal battle we have to with Casella whenever we're told to do that.
And what's that?
I
I'm
just
sorry.
greatly dislike having anyone's hands tied over
Yeah.
contract. I just, you
Yeah.
know, we should be able to talk to people.
Right.
And I understand why we can't, but I would just say, my opinion is that sooner we can start to talk to other people, the better. Because also, I'm assuming there'll be a lot of shifting around. You don't want, perhaps a lot of other towns are looking at the negative ramifications involved, and if everyone's gonna be shifting, we don't wanna be.
The last
left in
person.
line.
Well, it'll be also a question of who could take us,
Yeah,
what other towns are doing,
what's feasible for us?
what's feasible for us, and when is
How
our
much it'll take
contract?
to buy out.
May
Yeah.
2023.
Is it May of 23, our contract?
Yeah, I've read the contract, unfortunately.
I think
And I've had
what you
people
have
read
to
the contract.
balance out is savings per
Mhm.
ton or whatever you want to consider versus what it's gonna cost us to get out of the contract.
That's
And
my
once
question.
they know that we're looking, it's also a fine line as to when you approach Casella and make them aware that you're looking to go somewhere else. So there's that part of it as
What are
well.
their implications if we do stay with them?
Exactly.
No, I do.
I think we have to go back and reread that contract as to what we can do and when we can do it. And somehow figure out what our penalties are in doing so. Because I think there were some built-in penalties.
There are no, it's not clear, and that's what town council said. There is no, it does not list out, you will
Right.
pay X, Y, and Z if you try to get out of this contract early. Okay? There is no notice period or anything else. We are in the contract
All right,
until May of
Right.
23. And so it will be a negotiation if we want to leave before that.
Right.
It's just a matter of when we want to start that negotiation. Do we want to do it right now, or do we want to wait and then just put them on notice in November of 22 that, hey, we're done in May of 23. And oh, by the way, we're going to put out an RFP and we're going to start looking for an alternative.
But
That
an
we
al-
will start using in
Right.
May of 20, or June of 2020.
But to have to come to that decision, say November of 22, we're gonna have to do our homework ahead of time.
Yeah.
And which gets to
Well,
the point you're making about who can we talk to?
what do you mean?
But
we
our
have
vi-
to do our homework? Because,
Well, we don't know if there's anyone who also would take us, right?
well, that's why you put out the RFP.
for an RFP.
To find out if you don't wanna, so you're
No,
not
I
gonna be
get
able to go to 3 providers, whoever they are. Berlin, Rochester, Wheelabrator, whatever. And you're not gonna be able to talk to them in 3 months and say, hey, if we left Casella right now, would you take us? And how much would you charge us? Because then you're gonna screw up the RFP process. The idea of the request for proposal is to have a sealed bid. So you can't have all the numbers up front and then do an RFP process, because then the losers of the RFP
Right.
are gonna go, well, you knew who you were gonna take, why'd you do an RFP?
Why'd you put us,
do a public
Right.
RFP?
Right.
So.
I guess, no, I hear what you're saying, Mark. I guess I was being a little bit more general than that. Do we even know that any of these companies we may approach, or when we put out an RFP, are even interested? Will we get a bid, in other words?
Well, we know that some of them are, but they
Yeah.
will not
Yeah, they won't go beyond
talk
that.
to
They
us
won't go
right
beyond
now
that.
because we're in contract.
the contract is right now with the
So
issue.
they would not respond to an RFP. If we put one out tomorrow.
Right.
That nobody would respond, is
Right.
what we've been told.
Right.
Because we're in a contract until May of 23.
Which is,
And, but yes, I know, we know that there is a place that will take our trash.
several.
Is it comparable? I mean, that's
Well,
the,
we don't know.
Yeah, and
because
that's the
they won't
problem.
give
Well,
us-
it's not as good as, wait a minute. There are issues there. I've spoken to some people in Baltimore. And Baltimore, if you talk to the people in Baltimore, they're not as positive as you are about Wheelbridge.
And neither are the people on Saugus.
Neither, so there are,
Concord, not
wait a minute, there are issues, no, wait, there are issues everywhere.
with
Nothing is as simple.
It's
as it
just
being
like going down, just like going down to Rochester
Right.
with waste management. They have their issues.
Yeah.
They have their issues with the state, they have their issues with their customers, and I think we're gonna have to be careful about
Yeah.
which one we select.
See, I
We're
did
gonna
my
have to do
homework
a
in Baltimore.
good RFP.
That's the one you could pull up.
I'm sorry, I have friends there.
No, but I just think that. we
I'm
just
sorry.
have to-
Right.
I think that if
Yes.
the selectmen want
I
us to
understand.
look sooner rather than later, pick a month when you want to do it, when you want to start. And we'll get the town
Yeah.
council to take the contract to Casella and say, my it could be.
do you
But we
know?
don't want them going to other providers and saying, you bet on it, because they're in a locked-in contract.
So the real
Right.
question is, when is that magic date when we could do that? Right?
Well, I said November, that's probably a little late. I think September, this
20
time.
2022.
next year-
Next year.
This
Next
time
year.
next year would be probably a good time to, but I'd like to
start.
have a month or two for town council to
Yeah.
do the negotiating and say, we're gonna put the RFP out at
So-
October 1. or
So what
something
you,
like that.
let me. Says sometime next
Someone-
April, May. All right, we should be talking about this in more detail and giving direction to the select board to give direction to town council.
Pretty much.
Reasonably. I'm sorry, I do use Baltimore, but that's my friend. I have friends that,
It's fair game.
no.
That would
I
be-
happen to be talking to a friend down there and blah, 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 and I was taken aback, as they say, and I know that's one of the
That
worst
would be,
situations.
that would be giving advice to the select board.
I was not
not-
giving it direction.
For the record.
I'll run for
For the
select board.
I
Uh,
can give you a list of Casella landfills to look.
Oh, no, wait a minute.
Oh,
I've done the amount of homework I've done in the last 2 weeks since I've spoken to him is scary. What I have found around the country and talked to people around the country of almost every type of facility, be it Casella, be it waste management, be it Winterberg, it doesn't matter who it is. Everyone has had issues,
Yeah.
right? And if we think that that's not the case, we're kidding ourselves. So I did my homework a little bit. I try.
The
I don't
question-
always
The
succeed.
question
I
is
try.
too, is this the model we still want? And I don't know if it comes down to waste disposal, will we deliver it?
Right.
That's the other part of this, right? We're not, is it only that we're looking for someone else?
And
To
that's
which
part,
we can bring our trash, or are we looking at a completely different way of dealing with waste disposal?
that's part of the RFP.
Either one.
I'd love
And the
to. have-
timeline would still work. In other words, someone would come here and
Yeah.
and collect the
Potentially,
trash.
If we have enough land, because by that time we'll also
Yeah.
have at least the direction that we're going in. We may not have final design of everything, but we'll have a direction that we're going in for the new treatment plant. So we'll know if we have land available to potentially build a larger enclosed transfer station where we have a compact. And maybe we don't have a truck anymore.
Mhm.
We have.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Right, we have two great big things that compact trash.
And that
And-
discussion can wait till
that's-
April, May of
that's-
next year.
It has,
Why
Has to.
can't they just come with their compactor trucks and go to all the time?
Maybe they can.
well, because, generally, every provider right now that I'm aware of has gone to a front load truck. So, because they want to reduce manpower down to one guy, right? So our system right now only allows, so that would mean replacing every dumpster in town. So, and you got 70 of those. so it
Which
could be
we may
spending
decide to do.
a couple $100,000, but that may be offset by a much lower disposal
right.
cost, who knows?
It-
You gotta do the
right.
life cycle.
You got it, you got the,
analysis.
you got it, we got a lot of math to do next summer and fall.
Well, there's also the question of expansion in town too, that could have a
Exactly.
very big impact on.
Well-
It may not be just adding more dumpsters, I guess, is
Right.
the bottom line there.
Right.
Right.
Like we're having a dumpster put in on the new expansion of Green Peak. Okay. I've spoken to a bunch of people because people started talking to me about dumpsters. And it started off by people, I don't know how people got to me, but it doesn't matter. People complaining, it's a good word. Specifically about the dumpsters outside of the ice arena that are not attractive. And people used all kinds of words. You know what I'm saying when, I mean, not attractive. I agree. Well, wait a minute, but the answer is, it's not at the entrance, but it is the entrance. But at any rate, so I read and have reread and read again, and I spoke to Mark, and I actually asked some friends of mine, not town attorneys, but other attorneys that are friends of mine. And I specifically asked them whether or not the town ordinances, the way they are written. So for example, where it says, solid waste dumpsters are properly screened and or enclosed, and such enclosures are properly maintained, blah, 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 blah. I said, is there anything here that gives Mark and or the select board the ability to issue variances to that ordinance? Right? I kind of asked you that question. I've asked, I don't know if I ever asked you that question, but I asked a bunch of people that question because there are people in town that believe they have received such blessings that they don't have to do it. Information I was given by my friends that are attorneys and by my reading is that there's nothing here that says that Mark and or the select board has the authority to do that. It is my opinion that they should have that. I believe in the people on the select board, and I believe in Mark. So that my opinion, and I haven't written it, I apologize that I ran out of time to write it. Somewhere in here, it should say that the town manager and or select board has the authority to grant exemptions to specific things. And Mark, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, where's the regulation, I guess is the question I have, right?
I don't know if there is a regulation.
There's, the regulation basically
Is
reiterates all
All of this.
That was my
there-
understanding.
And it regulation includes mention
Yeah.
and the building
Right.
material for the enclosure. So there is nothing in the enabling the enabling
Regulation,
which is different wording. even.
so
All
not,
of the wording.
right. and there's nothing in there that says the select board
No.
can grant an
Yeah.
exemption
So-
or an exception.
No.
So it's
under
unless
these
the container
conditions.
is screening from, I mean, the number one that says, unless the container is screened from sight and contained in an enclosure in accordance with the
But there's
regulation.
no definition of what screened from sight means.
Right.
Because the dumpsters everywhere in town have at least 3 sides screened from sight. The only thing that we have allowed people to dispense with are the doors.
I'm not
And-
criticizing.
No, I know you, I'm just saying.
What do we mean by screen,
by-
what people are complaining
because
about?
What people are
complaining
complaining
about
about
are
is the doors.
lack of
being
doors.
missing.
No doors.
Right? And so does screen from sight mean totally screened from sight? Or does it mean on 3 sides or
Right.
whatever? I think it's the definition of what we mean by some of these terms. That's a key component that's missing.
I don't have a problem handling it. I don't have a problem how we recommend that it be handled. My issue is that the way I read it.
Yeah.
All right. Does not protect you or the select board, which I want to make sure.
It says properly screened in the, or do we say actually screened from sight in the regulation?
Yes,
Uh,
it says it right here. All right, number one, unless the container is screened from sight and contained in an enclosure.
So it doesn't
Right.
apply.
I mean, I don't, I mean, again, I don't want to go out of my mind with this. I want to be able, when someone comes and says to me, hey, you
But it
idiot,
says-
Copel,
right.
that looks like
But
crap.
it
Why
goes-
don't you do
It
something?
goes on to say, and contained in an enclosure, quote, in accordance with regulations adopted by the Board of Selectmen. Now,
Right.
does it take a town meeting to change a town regulation, or can the
No.
Board of Selectmen
Board of
simply
Select-
change that
That's
regulation?
my
That
understanding.
would fix the.
That is my understanding as well.
Right, so if it grants it, if the Board of Selectmen then can simply put in, change the regulation, and say, we have the authority to grant exceptions on a case by case, whatever the proper
Well,
language is.
Yeah, I would say that here's our definition of screened from sight.
First step,
That's,
Right.
that's the first thing to address
Right.
in the regulation, which the selectmen set.
right,
If if town doesn't like that, then let somebody petition a change to the ordinance
right,
and put language that they want to see in there.
right.
You know what I mean?
Right. But before then, we
But
could
before
change
then,
that.
the selectmen
We can
change
define
the regulation.
screen right. We're not talking about screen from public view.
That's not what. this
That's not what
says.
this says. It
It
just
does
says.
not. Well, it says screen from sight. And
Whatever.
I don't know what that means.
But it doesn't
That's-
define.
Right.
whether
Here
or
it
not
has an
that
issue.
is
Here it has a
allowed.
comment to make.
I think
Okay.
screen from sight means, I don't want to see the dumpster in there. It means screened. It doesn't mean 3/4 screened, it means screened.
Right,
It means another screen needs to go up over your corner door.
but does that apply, say, to a condominium association where you're not even on the property and you don't see it from a
Right,
public
okay,
right of
so
way?
If they have a 3/4 screen and they don't have doors, but the 3/4 screen keeps people from the public from being able to see their dumpster. And no one in the condo association cares,
Right,
okay? Is that screened from sight?
So if you're looking at ours at Tri-Pyramid, anyone coming in to the driveway
Right.
doesn't even know where the opening is. Matter of fact, that's an issue. People try to open the
yeah,
The big,
the employees.
that's right. Yeah. The truck-
So that's screened
that's,
from
the
sight.
and that's the standard sort of construction we
But
have
it's a
around
small
town.
opening, But
But your opening, yeah, but wait a minute, the truck doors in your case are facing Osceola Road.
they're
So that
facing-
if I'm walking
Right.
down Osceola Road and I look,
Mhm.
I can see your dumpster enclosure, right?
That's all you see is the enclosure.
I
Right.
understand that, but if you go to my former townhouses in Osceola 2,
Okay.
that dumpster, you look at it from Osceola Road or you look at it from Snows Brook Road, all you see is but that enclosure doesn't have doors on, it, or didn't when I was there. Maybe it does now. No one in the condo association cares, right? So it's their property,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But the public cannot see that it is screened from sight of the public.
Right, but how do
And
you
so-
keep that screen from sight at the public parking lot of Town Square?
Well, that's not a public
No, no.
parking lot.
No,
Well,
but
we
the-
call it public because that's.
I
what
know.
it-
no, yes,
I
no,
know.
you're talking about a different enclosure than
Yeah.
I do.
Right.
It is
So-
an interesting question. what
It
the parking
is,
lot is.
it's like, but that's up, to me, that's up to the
Yeah,
selectmen
it's
to
up to you.
determine what.
Well,
screen-
But all I'm saying is this.
Getting back to the mission statement,
All-
this
all-
seems like a good discussion.
All
for
all
the
I'm saying is
Municipal
this.
Solid Waste Committee to
It is,
wrestle with.
it is a legitimate
I think it
issue.
is.
All I'm saying is a legitimate issue. Came to me, I've spent some time, I've
So
spoken,
the board should-
I've
committee should
spoken,
take it out.
I've spoken to a lot of people.
I want everybody else to understand what I told you. So the way that this has evolved, okay, is every enclosure was built with doors. So it had 4 sides to it.
Right.
Okay. As the years went by, it deteriorated.
Some of
The
them,
enclosures, most of them
Yep.
deteriorated. And our staff, when the truck would go up to them, they could not physically open the doors, okay, or close them, all right? They became dangerous. We went to the owners, and there were condo associations, there were commercial enclosures, everybody. And those folks, when we went to them and said, hey, fix your doors, said, we can't afford it.
so well, some did, and
And
some gave you the
Yeah,
things.
there were
and both.
others, that we put additional pressure on because of the location of the
Yep.
dumpsters. But in most cases, at the time, whoever the board was, I don't know the year or whatever we did it, they said, fine, you can't afford to do it. Our staff needs access to the dumpsters. That's the overriding concern. Take the doors off.
It hasn't come up in
Yeah.
front of the board for some
And it-
time.
No,
For a
I
long
understand.
time.
Yeah.
So, and this is the point I made to Mike, that it was a community standard, okay, that was acceptable, that we were meeting the thought process of the ordinance,
The intent.
okay, the intent. And now there were enclosures, there was one in particular at the Silver Fox, where property owners surrounding the Silver Fox did not accept the fact that they didn't have doors. The selectman instructed us, and we went back to Tor, he still owned it at the time, and we made him come up with a solution that worked for him. He was able to get it done, right, cost-wise. It worked for us, and it screened
Right, because they're right there on the sidewalk.
because they're right.
It's right
on the
there where
side.
people can see it.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
if, in the case of Town Square, the selectmen vote at a board meeting and say, Mark and Jim, get those dumpsters at Town Square screened.
Or
We will
move.
Go to Tim. We will go to Tim, and we will say, okay, we gotta figure this out,
That was
because
a good solution.
here's the ordinance.
That was
But, you know,
So,
The screening though, doesn't necessarily, again, this is why we should have a committee, discussion about this and look at other possibilities. It may not require doors. It may require other, it
Right.
may perhaps be other screening from public view,
Right.
if that's an issue. Right?
It-
It doesn't have to be doors
There's-
necessarily, so you can't see the dumpster.
There's a lot of,
Could be a bank
could
of
be above,
trees.
it could be, it may, there's lots of things that
You
you
can't
do.
see it from a public
Screening,
right of way.
screening
I
is not
don't
necessarily
see
a
why
door.
I don't see why it's an issue,
Alright.
but this is something we can, I mean, you may think, yes, it should be screened even if it's on private property, and I can't see it from a public right of way. And I may think otherwise, but that's something we should hash out, and that's why I think there may be other solutions than forcing people to
The,
put
Oh.
doors. There may only be a couple places where this is really an issue. Right.
all that I'm saying about this,
I mean, where are the complaints? I think as far as I know, we're talking about just a couple places, commercial places.
well, yes,
and don't forget.
Yes,
all of
We just
these-
can't single them out, though.
All of
correct.
these ordinances were drawn up, and the wording was drawn up at a time when a single person controlled everything. He controlled the town, he controlled the resort, he controlled the ski area. And all of these were, and we're.
We were a
dealing
company
with this.
town.
Right.
We were a company town. Employees, whether they worked for the resort or the town, you couldn't tell the difference in the 1980s and 90s.
Right.
Everybody worked for one person, and everybody who voted basically worked for the
Right.
resort.
all,
So everything we have here is in the company town motif. Something we need to consider. You think about those town square dumpsters, right?
Mhm.
The one dumpster faces private property, the one at the arena. Yes, everybody walks by it, but that's all private property.
Yep.
There is no public, there is no
But the
public
public-
property.
The public walks on that private.
Well,
Yeah,
but
but
this-
that's-
wait,
That's
there's
their
a-
business.
right, there's a,
right?
and see, there's another thing, because I've spoken to a lot of people. And the other thing people have said to me is, you know what? The entrance to the village,
Mhm.
that is not the entrance to the village. The entrance to the village is over there where the circular driveway is.
And
That is the official, I mean,
until 2003, you couldn't get through there. That
Right.
was blocked off with a wall.
Well,
That
Right.
was opened up in 2003. And so everybody who parked in that parking lot by the arena used to have to walk all the way around. So
Right.
those dumpsters were never set up initially to be in a public walking space. But even if it's, yes, the general public walks by it, but it's all on private property. And so,
including the parking lot.
so you've got to be careful about what the town can say
Mhm.
a private business can do or not do. And I think we have to look at these situations from, how are they viewed from public ways? Okay, because that's where I would argue that screening from view comes into effect.
Right.
And
As,
so that
right.
set of dumpsters down below on the backside by the post office
Right.
building,
Mhm.
right?
down below,
Right now, that faces out onto Village Road. But if you read the wigwag yesterday or the day before, when it came out, there is a plan where the development company may come to the town and say, we want to discontinue Village Road.
that part of
And
Village.
that will no longer be a public right of way. That will be private way.
Yeah.
And so will we have any right to tell them in a few years, you need to screen that dumpster?
I think
It's
the,
all gonna be
the-
private.
the planning board in the past, from my understanding of the last few years, has always, or has taken the position, when they talk about screening, when people are constructing things, right, and they come in front of the board, it's in relation to public view.
Right.
It's not, it's not as something more
Right.
aesthetic for the property itself.
Right.
So again, this is something we can talk about as just a separate, extensive.
The
item.
issue is, when you look at the ordinance, all right, and I hate to be whatever, but if you read the ordinance as it is written, it doesn't get us to where we want to be. Now, it is possible, Rich, that through the regulations that the select board is able to issue, that it can get there. All right,
Yes.
all right, it is possible. All I'm recommending, all right, and I think we just started the discussion,
Mhm.
is our committee has to figure out whether we should be recommending to the select board that this be addressed, and that our committee would be happy to work with, or have it designated to us, to figure out how to change the wording, or fix the wording, or add the wording, or
Yeah.
regulate the wording, whatever.
I would say that what the select board would appreciate would be, take a look at the regulation, not so much the ordinance, but take a look at the regulation, come up with a definition for screening that could
Yeah.
fit some of the unusual,
Are the regulations online?
and
That's why I
and then
couldn't
come up
find
with
them.
some wording and then go in front of the select board, or just advise the select board, and however, that we think you need to make these changes to the enabling regulation, that
I-
puts into
I
practice
will
the
get
ordinance.
those regulations and circulate them.
what we should be thinking about, what do we mean by screening?
Right.
Yeah.
We should be looking around town prior to discussions, are there particular areas where we think from a public right of way, we may want to consider screening, and I would again simply say, screening need not necessarily be at indoors.
No, it's not, it is,
could
it-
be-
it-
they
it
could be
is not.
Screened in other ways,
It-
I'll read
it is
some
not.
photos of some,
right? But and generally, I would say that we probably just want to stay away from dumpsters inside of condo associations that you can't see.
All right, now, the only
That's-
other thing I
that's
want to
their issue,
do
yeah.
very quickly, because I'm exceeding my hour that I don't like to do, because I like to try and not be abusive. One of the things that two property managers mentioned to me, interestingly enough, was, neither one was yours, was that people park in front of, you know, this, people park in front of dumpsters, especially certain dumpsters. And that they didn't think that they had, which surprised the hell out of me, they didn't think they had the authority to make those no parking zones. And I said, huh?
It's in your condo doc.
My comment was, I think that's your property, and I believe you have the right to go and take some little yellow paint and paint around it and say no parking. But that was
Just like you
my,
have the right to put up signs as to
Yeah.
whatnot.
Right,
not
that
to
was-
go in the
that was-
dumpster.
that was my answer.
And the way that we handle it is we drive away.
that's right.
Right.
Which is a terrible answer. Well, that is the right answer. But,
An answer for the town.
Yeah.
It's not, it's the property manager's problem.
right,
They're being,
Condo association's
yeah,
problem.
the property manager is being paid to manage the property.
Right.
If they have a problem. with
That's
the
why I
car
couldn't
Properly parked, and they should do
right.
something about it.
I told them that they have the right to go to the association meeting.
No, they have
Do
the
it.
right to call a towing company, I would imagine.
The association. does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well, what they should.
depends
not
on the condo
do-
docs.
What they
Right.
should not do is call the police department.
We went through
So,
that.
because it
Yeah.
is not a, it
It-
is not a public
yes.
safety matter.
Right.
It is
Right.
an individual.
Right.
several people told me they were gonna do that, and I told them, no, this is your private property, and it
You
is
have a
up to
property
you. to do it.
manager.
You have a
to an
property
agreement
manager.
with your
This
property
is
manager.
not public way, where
Right.
we're gonna, where the town is gonna post
Right.
no parking signs.
Right.
This is up
We
to
don't do
you.
that.
I mean, the property manager can have been given the right via the association to deal with that on scene
Sure.
at the moment, right?
As they should.
Absolutely.
So
They
if they
should.
want to give the property manager the right to call a towing company to
Absolutely.
tow
They
that,
can.
to tow that out of there, they can.
That was
And if
my
somebody assaults
answer.
him while he's doing it.
Then you call the police.
That was my answer, not to assault.
So, yeah,
All right,
no, I think you're right on. that.
Before you go to the calendar, I have a little question.
yes,
So you were talking about bringing your 39-gallon bags to Market Basket?
I have.
When you're not available, as your lovely wife has asked before, who else is doing this?
There are other people on the committee who are doing it, and there are other townspeople who have volunteered, who have come to me and
Do
volunteered.
you have a list of people? If
I,
you're absent, someone else will do it.
yes. And other townspeople have already volunteered, as well as those people. Right. Okay. Anything else? This was fun.
So we got couple big topics. to deal with. I
have
got an
more-
immediate one too. That's a good one for us to chew over the next month.
Yeah, not to mention all the stuff I have going on with the other two committees.
Yeah, well, your choice.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Anything else before we adjourn the meeting?
Just-
Meetings the day after Labor Day.
So we have it
Unless
scheduled,
people want to change that.
we
It's
have
up
it
to me.
set for, because we agreed what
We agreed to the first
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So the first Tuesday is 7 September. It's also Rosh Hashanah. I don't know if that's an issue for some. It's a day after Labor Day.
Yes, I understand. It's not, well, except if you postpone it, you're into
Yeah.
Yom Kippur. So
You can't.
that's worse.
Yes.
That's worse.
Worse
Well, that's
than-
on the 16th, right? So
No meetings on Yom Kippur.
Right.
Everything else is.
Right, so my gut
So to
tells,
speak.
my gut tells me that, you know, it's just as easy to just do it the first Tuesday.
Keep it, I'm,
Okay,
Rosh Hashanah doesn't bother me at all. I have plenty of horseradish.
we can celebrate New Year. at the meeting.
there we go. You're gonna bring food?
We
We
can.
can. I'll have my wife start baking now.
Ooh, that sounds good.
I'm all for it.
All
Yeah.
right.
All right, thank you.
Some,
Let's go.
Right.
some,
Okay.
Fireworks.
What fireworks? Oh, that's right, it's tonight.
Oh my God.
yeah.
That's right, it's tonight. It's too many children. The opposite, let me turn this off, wait a minute. And-
5 to 8 o'clock.
Somebody